And this gathering, it's where we discern God's direction, realign mission, and commit to transformative action. I was tempted at the beginning to ask if I can get maybe 2-3 people to tell us what is Mission Congress in their own understanding, but because of time, I will go through my notes. One of the definitions of Mission Congress, it is recognized as a church-wide discernment and consultative process. A process that allows us to reflect on God's mission and realign with church's mission. But what is also most important about the Mission Congress, it's an opportunity for the people called Methodist to reflect on what God is doing in our lifetime and versus to what we as the people who are in the church, we are doing and what God is doing. But what is also important, it's the time where we can discern the way forward for mission in the church. So traditionally, in the life of the MCSA, Mission Congress is held in every 10 years or in the period of 10 years. The first one was in Umtata 2004, where the mission charter was adopted. If you go through our website, you will notice that you will find the mission charter of the Methodist Church of Southern Africa where it was developed. And then the second one was in Pietermaritzburg in 2016 under the banner Ignite Mission. Maybe one asks, what is this Mission Congress about? This is one of the gatherings in the life of the church that helps us to shape the mission for the Methodist Church of Southern Africa. It is an important gathering that allows us to reflect in mission. I've seen some ministers present here. I think they can agree that Mission Congress is not the only significant event in the life of the MCSA. If we look back, we will remember when we read that there are events or there are gatherings like the 1958 conference that came with a statement of one and undivided. Back then, it was during the apartheid. Then the church decided not to be quiet, but to speak against the injustice of the time. To speak on that, I think it is good to see that Reverend Dlamini is in our midst. Look, in one of the papers he has written around the 1958 one and undivided statement leading to the Obedience 81. One of the other events is the Obedience 81, the conference that was held in that year, that came with a statement of Obedience 81 to say, it took the church for almost about 20 years to acknowledge that as much as we have said, we are undivided, but we have fallen short of implementing this. Then there was a call for Methodist people to be obedient. And then there was the journey to the new land in 1995, 1998, the conference that formulated the vision and the mission of the MCSA. I am drawing these so that we can see that the Methodist Church has always been on the move. The Methodist Church has always been talking, has been in a conversation, and wanting to shape the mission of the church or the mission of God. We are a church that has been participating in what God has been doing in the life of this church. Coming to 2025, In 2023, if we remember, the then presiding bishop-elect, Reverend Nzimande, in her inaugural speech, she said, because of the dire situation that we find the church or ourselves in after COVID-19, she proposed that we bring the Mission Congress forward to 2025 instead of 2026. You will remember that I said that there was a resolution or there was an agreement in the church that we held Mission Congress over a period of 10 years. But because the PB-elect then saw a need for us to act urgently on these issues, she said this process will allow us to regroup and reposition ourselves as effective post-COVID church. And the conference accepted that call. And to begin that work, in February of 2024, the leadership of the church met in Johannesburg in what was called Bosbarad. The Bosbarad was a strategic weekend where the leadership of the church met and identified a universal lack of deepened spirituality. And they acknowledged on that weekend an urgent need for spiritual revival within the MCSA. This realization has led in various challenges, including ineffective communications, strained interpersonal relations amongst members, inadequate leadership, and insufficient engagement in the transformation and healing of the church. Also, on that weekend, the realization opened the leaders' eyes to see many other challenges, including this ineffective communication, the strained interpersonal relations. But all these challenges, then the leadership said, districts go and assess the mission state of each district. Those who were at the synod last year will remember when we talk about the grounds. That was the beginning of the conversation. Then all those reflections from the districts were aimed at initiating a journey of renewal for the church. Thus, we have the pilgrimage of renewal. The pilgrimage of renewal, I was having a conversation with the Reverend there. She says maybe we need to begin by explaining what is pilgrimage. Pilgrimage is a journey. The name is coming from the name pilgrim. When you translate that name, it is translated to a traveler, someone who travels. And then there is this historic story about a pilgrimage that it is referred to people who were traveling from one place to a holy place, after which, when they return to their daily life, their lives should be transformed. So as people called Methodist, I think we all know that we are always on the journey. Even the World Methodist in last year when they met, the theme was, we are on the move. In the life of people who call themselves Christian, you will notice even from the biblical times, we were always on the move. Even now, we are still on the move. So the pilgrimage of renewal is a journey towards Mission Congress. It is not Mission Congress itself, but it is a journey that we take towards Mission Congress. The journey is a spiritual journey designed to encourage open and honest, constructive conversation throughout the connection, throughout our societies. So this conversation, this journey will be in a conversation manner, in a dialogue manner where everyone needs to have a voice. One of the, I think the slogans, Bishop, if I'm correct to say, is one mission, many voices. The leadership of the church says, everyone needs to have a voice when it comes to Mission Congress. The approach that it's taken for this year's Mission Congress is a bottom-to-up approach, where the conversation needs to start at the local level. Everyone needs to have a say in the agenda of this Mission Congress. At the later stage, we would look into that. So, the journey is defined by a conversation, and it is led by the people of God for the people of God. For this time around, there is nothing that is coming from the connection to say, this is how you must do this. But the connection is saying, in your own society, have a conversation. And then once you gather these conversations and get maybe key themes, then the connection will look at these conversations and start to set an agenda for Mission Congress. It's part of what we will be doing today, to start a conversation. If I may conclude, Bishop, in that short introduction, we are to use this time as an opportunity to listen to God and to one another, seeking what God has placed in our hearts as a message for the people called Methodist. Just to challenge us, the youth of 1976, at the plight of apartheid, as much as the older people were fighting the injustices of that time, they did not sit around the fence and watch, but they participated in the conversation. They set their own agenda to want to liberate this country. Maybe we are young people, we ask ourselves, why must we participate in Mission Congress? What we set in this Mission Congress this year may be the future of what we will be talking about in the next few years. And looking at many of us here, if we are still in the life of this church, we will be implementing all those things that we'll be talking about. If I would say one thing, coordinators say, let's get our hands dirty as young people in this conversation. Let's not sit on the other side of the fence and not participate in this conversation. Let us shape the future of the church. It took 20 years since 1958 for the Methodist Church to say, yes, we have said we are one and undivided, but are we really one and undivided? Hence, there was Obedience 81. Reverend Siwa, in his address, referring to that 1958 statement, he says, the secretary of that conference that came with a statement of one and undivided, in his recording, he recorded this. The number of candidates for ministry were 19 Europeans and 24 non-Europeans, with 8 deceased members. In that conference that says they were one and undivided, but still on the records of that conference, they were divided. We have spoken about 40-40-20. Is it really 40-40-20? Or is it 40-40 and nothing? This is an opportunity for us as young people to enter into conversation and not shy away from this conversation. If the youth of 1976 chose to get their hands dirty and become part of something, I think a gathering of this nature can definitely shape the mission of this church. This is one space where you find black, white, colored, green, whatever. we should use this opportunity to show the church that we as young people, we have a voice, and that voice can shape the mission of this church. So as we are about to enter into a conversation, I want us to remember that this is an opportunity for us to listen to God and to listen to one another as we enter into a conversation. I will hand over to Sean, who will assist us going forward on how we will hold this conversation and how we will break into groups. Thank you.
Thank you to the lay leader. Friends, this is how we are going to do this segment. The questions up the top are for discussion. We will now move into commissions. Again, False Bay, Paul Valley, Bongani, Worcester, and Belleville. And group 3 is Dumisani, Weinberg, Breede River, Stellenbosch, Blue Downs, and Alderberg. We will have 15 minutes to discuss the questions that are on the top. So we can take pictures of them quite quickly as we will now move into commissions. Group 1 will meet outside here by the trees. Please just take your chair and go congregate there. Just ensure that you bring the chairs back. The group will need a scribe and one person to just lead the conversation as a response to these questions. I'll be with you now. Group 2 will meet in the big room where the gentleman slept on the side here, and then group 3 will stay here for that discussion. To repeat the groups just one more time, Group 1, Table Bay, Bishop, Tygerberg, Cape Gateway, Heathfield. Group 2, False Bay, Paarl, Bongani, Worcester, Belleville. Group 3, Dumisani, Weinberg, Breede River, Stellenbosch, Blue Downs, and Helderberg. Group 1 outside, Group 2, the blue. Group 2, Cable's Goose must go cook. I'm joking. Group 2 on the side, on the big room where the gentleman slept. Group 3 in here. Cape West Coast can join Group 1 outside. Apologies for missing Cape West Coast. Can join Group 1 outside, or they can go to the kitchen and prepare lunch for us. I'm joking. Friends, we have 15 minutes to have, I think she's also from Cape West Coast. Are you covered? Thank you. Friends, we have 15 minutes and then we'll come back here. Just to note, in order for us to save time, Latme Lamosley. Thank you. Friends, to save time, the scribes need to please jot down all the points. Those documents then will be sent to the secretary, and then the secretary and the lady will take them to the mission coordinator, Khalo. To save time, we won't come back here and give reporting. Then the lady will take us to the stones. We'll hear about the stones when we come back. Over to you, Secretary. Thank you.
We've been given the time frame. It is now 1:30, so you need to get up very quickly. 15 minutes goes away quickly. Please note the group that's sitting out there, you may not have tasters of that braai, not yet. You can smell of the fire. Please can we get our chairs and very quickly move into our groups. It's 1:30. That means that by 1:45 you need to be back. We may give you 3 minutes grace there. But please, if we can move very quickly to our groups.
wonke.